10 places in the world that people are not allowed to visit. There are still some areas in the world that you can't visit despite globalization, technology, and improvements in transportation. While some of us are obsessed with going into space and conquering Mars, some areas of our globe are still mostly unexplored or even forgotten. Other locations are home to military installations, top-secret espionage information, or are even off-limits to the general public because they are legally haunted. Here are 10 places that are limited and that you should avoid visiting. Number 10. Andaman and Nicobar Islands North Sentinel. While the other islands in this archipelago are larger and more well-known, North Sentinel, which is covered in mangroves and ringed by coral, has remained mostly undiscovered by the outside world. The island may seem like paradise, but it couldn't be further from the truth. Its location makes it one of the most remote places on Earth, but one of the last uncontacted tribes in the world calls it home. The Sentinelese, who are this island's native population, have hardly been influenced by contemporary culture. Violence has always been used to interact with the populace throughout history. They killed 2 fishermen in 2006 whose boat had been pulled to their shores by the current. A 3-mile restricted zone, according to The Guardian, forbids outsiders from visiting the region. The Indian government reportedly has no further intentions to get in touch with the Sentinels, according to Survival, an NGO that advocates for the rights of indigenous and tribal peoples. Authorities respect their request to remain uncontacted, since diseases to which they lack immunity could wipe out the entire tribe. Number 9. Snake Island or Queimada Grande, Brazil. This island, which is roughly 100 kilometers off the coast of São Paulo, could seem like the perfect exotic location to get lost, but it has been fully overrun by deadly snakes for decades, rendering it uninhabitable. The island has a density of 1 to 5 snakes per square meter. The snakes that inhabit here are among the most deadly in the world, as if that weren't terrible enough. The flesh surrounding its bites can be destroyed by the golden lancehead viper's powerful, quick-acting venom, which can grow to a length of up to half a meter. The Brazilian government specifically discourages visiting the island due to this. Number 8. Point Nepean National Park, Australia. It wasn't always a national park at Point Nepean, the extremity of the Mornington Peninsula that skirts the eastern shore of Port Phillip Bay. Large portions of the territory are still off-limits to visitors, and these portions frequently correspond with the regions that were long used as a military firing range. These substantial areas should be fenced off for 2 reasons: conservation and explosive munitions. When you stroll where you shouldn't, your risk of losing a leg or 2 is unnervingly high. Number 7. Area 51, Nevada, USA. Without include the well-known Area 51, a top-secret military installation in southern Nevada, this list would be incomplete. This location wasn't even acknowledged formally until the CIA made documents that confirmed its existence public in 2013. Nobody is quite sure what goes on in this institution. Although most conspiracy theorists think it's used to build and test weapons and aircraft for the US military, many others think it's actually utilized to study extraterrestrial objects. There is therefore no chance of entry unless you work for one of the top government agencies. Number 6. Svalbard Global Seed Vault, Norway. On the Norwegian island of Spitsbergen, about 800 miles from the North Pole, the Svalbard Global Seed Vault is a sizable underground seed bank and storage facility that was carved 400 feet into a mountainside. The facility, which was formally inaugurated in February 2008, currently houses about 840,000 samples of 4,000 different varieties of seeds from throughout the world. In the event of a significant regional or global calamity, the seed bank is intended to act as a safety net against the unintentional loss of biodiversity. It works much like a safety deposit box at a bank, allowing organizations or governments to deposit seed variations in the vault for storage, with access to their deposits being restricted to those who have made them. Access to the 11,000 square foot facility is closely restricted to a small number of personnel and is protected by cutting-edge security technologies. Number 5. Qin Shi Huang Tomb, China. Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, passed away in 210 BC, and his tomb is located deep within a hill in central China. Known as the Terracotta Army, the burial complex is made up of a sophisticated network of underground chambers that were stocked with everything the emperor would need in the afterlife, including clay replicas of his soldiers, family, servants, horses, and staff. Since its first discovery in 1974, more than 2,000 statues, each one entirely different, have been unearthed. According to specialists, there may be as many as 8,000 statues encircling the main tomb that have yet to be discovered. The Chinese government, however, might never permit the excavation of the emperor's tomb since they prefer to observe traditional funeral customs. So even though visitors can see the emperor's clay army while touring the site, the ancient warrior's primary tomb might never be found. Number 4. Lascaux Caves, France. One of the most famous Paleolithic cave murals ever found is housed in this intricate network of caves in northwestern France. The prehistoric art, which is thought to be older than 17,000 years, primarily features pictures of huge animals that have been identified from fossil digs as existing in the region at the time. Even UNESCO has recognized the caves as a World Heritage Site. Due to a fungus infestation, the caves have been fully closed to the general public since 2008, with only a select group of scientists being permitted access for a few days each month to study the paintings. Number 3. Pripyat, Chernobyl, Ukraine. Pripyat, which was once a bustling city, now resembles a scenario from a post-apocalyptic film. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant employees developed the city, which was one of the most advanced at the time. Approximately 50,000 Pripyat residents were asked to evacuate within 2 days after the Chernobyl accident. The city was then uninhabitable, and they had all been exposed to radiation levels that were dangerously high. For nearly 3 days, residents were urged to carry only what they absolutely needed in case they returned. The only difference was that they abandoned Pripyat forever and never came back. Private and group trips are genuinely offered in the Chernobyl exclusion zone. You shouldn't stay here for an extended period of time. Recall that high radiation levels? The visits take place in and around Pripyat, as well as in a few locations close to Chernobyl. However, entering any structures is completely forbidden, and you must always be wearing a hazmat radiation suit. Number 2. Albatross Island, Australia. This tiny Bass Strait Island is a Tasmanian state nature reserve and one of just 3 nesting locations for the endangered shy albatross. The area is off-limits to the general public so that the birds can mate peacefully. But even if it weren't, the boat voyage there would deter all but the most intrepid tourists. Even if the Parks and Wildlife Service grants you the extremely unusual permission to travel, the rough waves and lack of mooring make it difficult to reach. Number 1. Poveglia, Italy. Between Venice and Lido is a little island called Poveglia. It once served as a quarantine facility for plague victims, where more than 160,000 afflicted persons spent their final hours and days. According to some estimates, human remains make up 50% of the island's soil. The island then became home to a mental hospital with a highly dark reputation. As if this tragedy wasn't tragic enough, after a while it was shut down, and anyone can no longer enter Poveglia. So, which one was the most fascinating to you? Let us know in the comments. Also, remember to like the video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.